Hello and welcome to another free code session. My name is Jason Bach, and I'm going to start diving in again and start making some more episodes. This is going to be getting rocks up to parity with features in C#11, and well, at least as many as I can do, as I'm going to explain in a moment. One of them I'm going to have to hold off on for a little while. I also have a cold. I've been traveling for the last 3 weeks. I went to VS Live Redmond, then Codapalooza, then a family vacation, actually half of that family vacation. We were all supposed to go to DC, but unfortunately my older son got kind of a stomach flu. And so my younger son and I flew out and spent a couple days there. And it was a lot of fun. I'll actually show a couple of pictures here and there and everywhere of places we went to. We went to the National History Museum, I think that's the right name, the Spy Museum, and then I think it's the Air and Space Museum, which is right next to Dulles Airport. Absolutely loved it. I think the Air and Space one was the best. They have an SR-71 there. They have the Enola Gay. They have a Concorde. They have the Discovery Space Shuttle there. So it was like we spent 2 or 3 hours just walking around taking pictures. It was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, I think I picked up a cold in there, and now I'm at the stage where it's all like in the sinuses and coming out, which is probably why I don't sound, at least I don't think I sound like I normally do. So gonna need lots of hot beverage just to keep the throat dry. And at least I don't have the sore throat anymore. That's gone. But anyway, so I'm getting back into it, and I'm going to actually do a couple of little things that don't have to do with C#11 features, just a little bit of cleanup on how the internals of rocks works. Nothing major. It was something that I was doing as I started building the support for static abstract members and interfaces, or SAMIs, such a cute acronym, but I'm going to use it because it's easier to say than static abstract members and interfaces all the time. So I started working on that, came up with some changes, some switches I wanted to do internally. And so I have to add those back in because, as you can, well, maybe you can't see in the bottom, but this branch is called C#11 Take 2 because I tried to work on this on SAMIs for the first thing. And as I found out, it's not going to work unless I do a fair amount of changes to how rocks works and how things are defined. I made a special episode video. I think it's number 6. I'll include it in the description, a link to it, where I talk about the fact that you cannot pass an interface into a type parameter if it has any static abstract members, which sucks because rock.create takes a generic, all the expectation classes take a generic, and none of that would work. Now I have a plan B or plan C or whatever it would be at this point to support it, but it would take some gyrations and I'm not entirely thrilled about doing it that way. The one thing I noticed is that the restriction around this is potentially overtly restrictive, even admitted by the C# team. And they may in the future open it up for certain cases. I'm kind of potentially banking on that. I don't know. I don't really want to go into all of this too much if this would eventually be lifted to allow you to do that, especially if you have no intention of calling it. You're just using it as like a literal type parameter, but you're not actually trying to invoke anything on it. So we'll see. We'll see if that eventually clears up, but I'm going to just skip it for now and start working on some other things. Generic attributes, which I hope is going to be easy. I hope that's as simple as, am I rendering a generic attribute definition on a member correctly? And if it just works, we're done. Required properties is going to take a little bit more work because all the instance methods I have to, if there are any requireds or inits, I'm going to include those as well. If any of those exist, I'm going to create a type, probably called required constructor properties for, and then the flattened name of the type. And that will always be passed in as the first argument after the this parameter. And that way, and then all the constructor arguments come after that. So that way that'll give you a hook into, I want to set first name, which is required, to this value. And then I'll just generate the code to say, when you create it, have an object initializer that allows you to set them. Now, if you have it required, but it's not accessible, there's nothing I can do at that point. Then that's up to the type itself having a way for it to be set, probably through the constructor, and then we would just call it with the parameter accordingly. So that's not on me. If it's required and it is accessible, then we will include it. So, but I'm going to hold off on those later. So it's basically 3 main things I have to do. The first one is just a little bit of cleanup. So let's get to that. This all has to do with verification and expectations. So what I realized is, we have this IMOC interface here, which has these handlers, which we really don't need. If you look at expectations, not exceptions, expectations, you'll see that here for one thing, we keep a reference to the mock. Another thing is that we do allow people to get to the handlers. I'm not sure either one of them. Maybe this one is needed in certain cases. I'm not really sure offhand, because really the verify is all you need. Yeah, we call it, and then there's an add or update in the wrapper, which I think we can get rid of, because I was looking through this and I'm like, I don't see a reason why we need this wrapper thing anymore. I think we can just munge this into expectations and then provide the handler information as expected, and you don't need this because it would be an expectations. And maybe I'm wrong, but this is one of those things I looked at and I'm like, I really don't get why we have this wrapper. So there's one less thing we can have, so much the better. We're going to get rid of that. We're going to get rid of the IMOC because expectations suggest it shouldn't be even calling the mock here. It should only, if you call verify, we're going to have now a field to say, did you actually call it or not? And that's what's going to be used to say, hey, is something actually been called? And where is that done? That's in instance methods. So in the instance method, it usually checks to see if this is null or not. Well, we're going to get rid of that. So let's just dive into it. All right. So we're going to have a private bool was invoke. No, not was instance invoked. Okay. And then we're going to get rid of, I think we can get rid of all these. This might take an episode or 2 to do, just because I need to make sure that all this actually works. So we pass in the handlers. Yeah, we know it's unused. We don't need to pass this in anymore. We can get rid of that. We can that and that and that. Okay. And now we're going to say here, if this was instance invoked, then we can actually do a verification. Okay. And we don't need to do this. We need to get verification failures. And where that is in the extensions. That is actually, IMOC extensions, which is get verification failures. That's here. And then I think this one, we realized we don't even call anywhere. So I think the thing I'm getting at is this. I gotta move my headphones. Keep hitting my hand against it. We need to keep. Okay. Let's do this, and then that, and then this. And you don't know what that is because it took that out. And we want that there. And then this self get type is actually type of T. And then this is same thing. Oh, there. Okay. And yeah. And then we don't return these because we already have them here. And we're just going to say if the failures there. And so now it's all here. We don't need actually IMOC anymore. That can go away. So we can take away IMOC extensions. We can take away IMOC. Now, of course, this is going to break stuff because it's already implementing this, but yeah, we want to now, whoa, that was the wrong thing. There we go. We want to change this to iRaise events. Okay. And this doesn't inherit from iMock anymore. Yeah, go ahead. Good for you. There you go. All right. So we raise events. We won't get rid of the expectation wrapper just yet. Maybe we still need it. I'm not sure. I think we can actually go off and just say, you know what? Let's just put these here and put those onto here. And I don't even know why we would allow you to have this. Like, where is this being called? I think, yes. In the rock repository, they actually create a new expectations. But why would then this one be created? Like, why do you have one or the other? Yeah, I don't know if, because we say in a get here, we make a new. So I don't even know if this is needed anymore either. So now I can just say here, one level indirection gone. Okay. And so that all goes away. And we are going to need a, this might actually, we could potentially make private now. To do. Can we make this private? Okay. So we got all that. Expectation wrapper, I think, can be gone. Save all that, yes. And then of course we have to come up here on all the expectations, and anywhere where it said wrapper, actually we can do this. We can say EFS, and anywhere you see that, it is expectations of T. Match case, current project, file types, CS. Let's just do that. Those should all be those. Yep. I think I see why now I have the wrapper. Because when I am saying I'm getting a property getter expectations, let's just save this. If I go to expectations here, I was getting and if I go to the wrapper here, we were setting expectations to that only for the handlers. Now, here's a trick. Let's try this. If I say internal expectations, and I say the base here, okay. Oh, you can't use the word expectations. That's fine. And so what I want to do is say, if you're giving me something that derives from expectations, what I really want you to do is say this dot handlers. How do I want to do this? Because for example, if I'm saying create a new, property expectations, I'm originally calling the base, which now works because I just put that there. But what I wanted to do is say the handlers. Well, no, I don't need to. Well, no, I'm doing inheritance wrong. It has a reference to the handlers as a base property, but I need it to actually be equal to the handlers that were from the expectations. So I need to basically set the reference right. I may have to do a little bit of juggling here. The only way that you can set this, okay, is in this constructor. Here you say this dot handlers is equal to new. Okay. And that takes care of that. Now here we want to say handlers is equal to expectations handlers. And actually, I think that we don't still need the private set here. I think we can get rid of that again. So it's only a getter. And the only thing that it can actually use is still potentially private. The only thing that would actually need it is here. Okay, so I think we're still good. So if we would say new property expectations with the expectations that we were given, we just pass in those expectations to it. It would get a reference to the handlers and all as well. Okay, I think that's good. Okay. Right. Oh, now your validate parameters is not null. Or add a code contract precondition asserting non-null argument. What in the world do you mean by that? I guess if I come here, it's that sucks. Why would you need to verify that? I mean, I'm saying I'm expecting it to be non-null. Yeesh, that's ugly. That's really ugly. But I don't think it'd be smart enough to say, well, in this one, you're actually saying, and this makes sense because this one is public and it's saying, I don't know if what you're giving me is, though it's surprising it didn't do that for the other ones. I don't know why. That seems a little excessive. Like if I go to all these, yeah, and I don't think I need I expectations anymore either. I think I can get rid of that. Okay, I think we can get rid of that. Expectations does derive from it, but I don't think we need that anymore. There's no point in that. Like, it's going to give the same error here, right? It's going to say, hey, that should be, yeah. That kind of sucks. But is what it is. So yeah, now we're going to have to change. Like if we have property expectations, if we go to property getter expectations, that shouldn't expectations. I'm almost wondering why we don't have that take a property expectations. Like, why does property getter expectations, if I look at indexer getter expectations, yeah, it goes from indexer, but then why does it take this as it? It should be, but then the list, revisit expectations, inheritance, and constructor types. Because we need to, I think, be a little bit more explicit. When you say I get the getters, that's off of property expectations, but now I want to get back as a property getter expectations. All you should have been passing in at that point is a property getter expectations. So it's just more of to be a little bit more precise as to what we're doing. I think that's what we want to do. Now, in the builders for create, and this is all for creates, not even mocks. These are the extensions, right? This is the instance. Oh, and I have to, yeah, that's right. Bring in indented text writer extensions. I want to do that too because I want to start using a lot more raw string literals where it makes sense. And on my static cast source generator project, which also now won't work because of the restriction of passing in SAMIs to type parameters, I have to change that. Okay, so here, when we call build, it's all here. So what we want to say here is the, yeah, we want to say, was it invoked? And that's right. We do need this, but not like this. Was instance invoked. Cool. Okay, and then that actually gets rid of this. And that should take care of those problems. Okay. So here we want to say was instance invoked. If it wasn't, now it is null. If it wasn't invoked, then we can do this. We do not need to assign that. And in fact, we can just say return and get rid of that. Okay. Else we throw that. and everything should be fine. Now, here's the fun part. This actually gets into, let's actually go to my static cast. Yeah, you, oh, come on. Come on. Come on. Static cast. We have source. We have an extension that is called indented text writer extensions. And we're just going to copy and paste them into here because we can. Except we're going to say rocks.extensions. And this is just simply to write lines. And we don't want to keep passing in template indentation because we know we're always doing a tab by default. If you don't want to pass that in, don't do it. Here's why I'm doing this. I want to say writer.write lines. Okay. And then we're going to do our raw string literal, except what we're going to do is that. Come over here, grab all this, and say, now we have to be a little bit smart here. Oh, did it? Wow. Did you see what it just did? It said, oh, you grab this from a interpolated string, so I'm going to automatically put 2 there for you. That is freaking awesome. That's exactly what I wanted it to do. That is so cool. So now we want to have this. Okay. And notice how much this is just so much more natural to do it this way. Let's see if it's smart enough to do this. Yep. Sorry, I got to say it. Damn. That's awesome. That is really awesome. Okay. Now this is also going to cause me to have a lot of generated code broken. But that's fine. We can address that. And look at that. It knew that I don't need the, oh, that is cool. I don't know if that's intended or not, but that is cool. I'm really happy that it does that. What this did is it took code like this that was fairly hardish to read. And now it's this. And this is more template-like. It's not a templating language per se, but it kind of feels more like a template. And this is so much nicer to read. I can't imagine, that's why I want to use this, because of something like this. This is so much better. And it's going to reduce code, again, where needed and where appropriate. Now, we've got this in here. We've done a lot of work, and I think there's some things broken. So what I'm going to do is stop here and get through all the compiler errors that I think I still might have. And then in the next episode, we're going to start testing these things, which I think what we did is we did this, this. Well, we haven't revisited them yet. We did this. So that's the only one we haven't done yet. I think I'm going to do that off camera real quick and then compile. And then next episode, run tests and get things working again. The one nice thing about this was instance invoked is that it actually arguably makes things slightly faster on the instance method, but it's not like a huge performance win. I think it's a very, very small thing. So, yeah, I don't think we're gaining much of anything this way, but it reduces a little bit of some of the inheritance and type noise that was there. So that's all I'm going to do in this episode. We'll pick this up in the next one with seeing if these little changes worked, and then we'll move on to generic attributes and required constructor properties. Thank you all for watching. Leave comments and questions below. See you in the next episode.